Hey, Deanna.
We have seen his glory, the one and only Son. I was there the day when the dove came down, saw soldiers with thorns to make his crown. Darkness over the land. After he was dead, came the light again. I was there when he said, was on the Mount of Olives, watching him fly away.
Hey,
The Spirit
turn my
came
camera.
to give us guidance. We have seen his glory. We have seen
Mickey Mouse. Look at this.
I look like Mickey Mouse.
That's it. What kind of Mickey Mouse operation
I
is this? I watched the documentary about Bobby Knight, and I heard him say
Yeah. He said that once or twice.
he said that about his program.
Yeah.
Hi,
Maggie.
One of the tamer things he said.
Yeah.
I think it's the only thing I can repeat on.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
On here.
I am sure it is.
I didn't know if you were home.
Yeah. Well, I had a doctor's appointment, had a unscheduled x-ray, I think. Yeah, that's what it was. So, yeah, I'm home now.
Did they find a backbone?
I have a spine. I do have a spine. I do. Do I look washed out to you? No. Okay.
I can only see like half of your face.
Are you serious?
So the other, it's like,
cut off.
It's cut off. Yeah.
Is it?
There. That's better.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if seeing your whole face is better.
All right. Well, I don't know. I'm going to try to scoot this over without knocking everything over.
We're gonna lose the audience.
Yeah.
Here, I think.
Yeah, they're dwindling away. Hello, Melissa. Melissa, Deanna. Scoot over. Yeah. Is this better?
No.
It's not?
No. Ask them. It's not
It's
for
not
me.
for you? Is that better?
Yes.
See, okay. So, in my view, this cuts off half of my face. Does it in yours?
Really?
Yeah. No?
You're all in there.
I'm all in there. All right. Is this better, Deanna?
It's like the glasses thing, you know.
Yeah.
This.
Okay. She says I'm good here.
Okay.
Well, hello, Melissa.
You have Deanna's approval.
I do.
That's a big thing.
Lee says it's better now. I don't have a we played through the whole song there. All right. So enough of that. Sorry, I'm looking over here, shutting everything down. Okay, we're in 3rd John, so if you'll make your way to 3rd John, everyone, while I'm taking care of the production side.
Yeah, the producer, is she making brownies again?
She is, actually. I heard.
Quit.
She's going. We didn't fire her. I know that.
No, not at all. Should give her a raise.
Yeah, well, maybe that was the deal.
She's holding out.
Yeah.
She's gonna find another Bible study.
Find another Bible study group to produce. Yeah. Well.
But you've had a big weekend. 4 or 5 days.
Hey, we had
we need to talk about
a granddaughter. Yeah. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about something else?
Yeah, that.
Okay. Yeah. That was so exciting. She was due on Easter, and we had this sort of a pool going just among me and Lee and the kids. And so my guess was 7:03 Sunday night, Easter, last Sunday night. So anyway, I think she was born like
Well, you just about got it.
6:48 or something like that. So I was a few minutes off, but I was closest. I didn't win anything though.
I was gonna, yeah,
I
that
didn't
was.
win anything.
I don't know. You sent that picture. Well, you put it on Facebook too, but I don't know if I've ever seen, except for my own children, of course, a more perfectly formed child than that.
Yeah, well, she's
Really?
she's perfect. It's all about. Deanna says it's all about me. Yeah. So yeah, we're just going to talk about my granddaughter during this Bible study. Lee says 6:43 was the time, so I stand corrected. I missed it.
So she is paying attention.
She's paying attention, and
she's there to correct you.
Lee says she's beautiful, so she is beautiful.
She is.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. The color, her color and
everything
is just perfect.
Yeah. No need to be no need to bring race.
She's watching tonight, right? Is she?
Sorry.
She's ready.
Yeah.
Was she reading?
She's reading. Yeah. She went to preschool with her brother the very next day. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then I think next week she's supposed to teach. Is that right?
The 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
Yes, I will do that, Maggie. Maggie had some very good news, Maggie Goble. So, and I'm sorry, Maggie, I can't reproduce in my mind what your text said. I just and I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm just going to say she's saying thank you for all your prayers. So she got some good news, which is good news for everybody. So
you bet.
Thank God. And I'm glad, Maggie, glad that you're on here. So we will be in 3rd John, and Darin will read it. It's very, I would say it's very short, but it's as long as the second letter. So
I think it's about as long as it needs to be.
Probably so. And this is, most likely, I was going back over my notes, probably written, I say probably because I don't think anyone actually knows the exact, even the exact year, or let alone the day or the hour that this was written, but it probably written about the same time as 1st and 2nd John. It has this one has something a little different in it. Each of them do, but they all sort of have this overall maybe heading of, there are some people out there that are trying to destroy the name of Jesus, or say that he didn't, they're against him as being the Messiah or the Christ. So, and John is these 3 letters are obviously attempts to make sure that people stay with Christ and don't run to some other thing.
And it seems to be these people you're talking about have come into the church exactly for that reason. Not that they change their mind midstream. It's that they have worked their way in and have come to destroy the church from the inside.
Yeah.
And it's not talking about people who are learning, who are getting things wrong and are trying to do the right thing, but they fall back. These are not the people he's talking about. These are people who are actively and expressively and intently trying to bring down the church from the inside.
Well, and yeah, their whole their idea is that they're not going to well, they're not going to promote Jesus in any way. So, you know, in the first letter, some had left and they had gone out from the body. They had left the body and they were causing trouble. And so this third letter is short, to the point. There's some praise here. Hi, Joyce. It's good to see you're watching. Darin, I know you can't see the comments or who's watching, but about 300 or 400 people, maybe. No, kid.
Okay.
No. Yeah, down from last week. Thousands last week, maybe. I don't know.
They'll come.
No, yeah. Anyway, this letter is it's got praise in it for one individual, and it's got not praise for another individual and what he's doing. So John's pretty busy trying to keep things going. He's an elder. He states, I mean, this is the Apostle John. He says he's an elder. First verse of chapter 1 and 2nd John, and he addresses the group, the Christians here, as the elder in 3rd John as well. So, would you please read? What are you reading? What are you reading from tonight?
Same thing.
The Bible.
ESV.
ESV.
English Standard Version on my iPad.
Here. Okay.
It's the electronic standard version, maybe. We should call it that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Sounds good.
Same thing. All right. 3rd John 1. To the elder to the beloved Gaius, through my love and truth. Beloved, I pray that all may go well with you, and that you may be in good health as it goes well with your soul. For I rejoiced greatly when the brothers came and testified to your truth, as indeed you are walking in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear my children are walking in the truth. Beloved, it's a faithful thing you do in all your efforts for these brothers, strangers as they are, who testified to your love before the church. You will do well to send them on their journey in a manner worthy of God, for they have gone out for the sake of the name, accepting nothing from the Gentiles. Therefore, we ought to support people like these, that we may be fellow workers for the truth. I have written something to the church, but Diotrephes, who likes to put himself first, does not acknowledge our authority. So if I come, I will bring up what he's doing, talking wicked nonsense against us. And not content with that, he refuses to welcome the brothers, and also stops those who wants to, and puts them out of the church. Beloved, do not imitate evil, but imitate good. Whoever does good is from God. Whoever does evil has not seen God. Demetrius has received a good testimony from everyone, and from the truth itself. We also add our testimony, and you know that our testimony is true. I had much to write to you, but I would rather not write with pen and ink. I hope to see you soon, and we will talk face to face. Peace be to you. The friends greet you. Greet the friends, each by name.
I love this. I don't know how many sermons I've preached on this.
Can you hear delay? Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
But it sounds like there's a little bit of a echo with a delay. I don't know if that's
okay.
If anybody else is hearing that.
Let me make sure I'm. Hey, Rick. This is
Is anybody else picking up on that?
Feedback or? Hey, Bob.
Yeah. Whoa. I don't know, about 7 or 8 seconds. It seems like. Anyway,
can you hear
not that big.
Can you hear a podcast going on this?
I can hear you clicking.
Okay.
Anyway, it's not that big of a deal. I just wanted to make sure nobody else, if it was distracting to anyone else. No. Now you're back. No, you were frozen. I didn't hear
I
anything.
could hear a podcast playing. I don't know how I did that, but
Okay.
anyway. Okay, so back to.
Well, now I hear a little bit of an echo, but it's okay.
All right. Okay, Joyce says she doesn't.
Okay.
She says no, so I'm assuming she's not hearing anything. Or she can't hear the podcast. There was a podcast playing in my headphones. I don't know how I had that happen, but anyway, maybe Rick can explain that to me later. Okay, so back to 3rd John without distraction. You were saying.
What was I saying?
I don't remember. You were saying something.
No,
You weren't?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. So we have.
You were saying how much you loved.
Yeah, how much I love this. How he definitely how he ends this, and you can tell a lot about how John is, how he feels about the church. He calls them friends, and to greet them by name, and so he's really concerned. He's an overseer. He's an elder. He's a shepherd. He's someone that really does care about the oversight of the church. Hi, Tony. So he writes this to Gaius, and apparently there had been another letter. I mean, there's a letter that he wrote. He says in verse 9, I wrote to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first, will have nothing to do with us. So apparently he got a hold of the letter, and I doubt that we'll never find that one. Probably we'll never find that. But it's interesting that he's going to call attention to this in verse 10.
He's gonna, yeah. He says, "I'm coming, and
yeah.
I'm gonna bring this up."
Right. So he's not going to avoid this. He's not looking. John's not the type of man that's looking for a fight. It doesn't seem ever to be that way. But he is not going to let this stand, because this is what someone does when they love people, when they love the church. They're not going to stand for someone that's doing these kinds of things. And what was he doing? He says, I'm going to call attention to what he's doing, gossiping maliciously about us.
Mine says talking wicked nonsense.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This wicked nonsense about them.
And not only that, he's not welcoming. He's not being hospitable.
Yeah. Right.
He refuses to welcome the brothers and wants to stop those who want to.
Yeah.
Even show hospitality.
And so apparently John has sent out teachers. You think about that day and time and what was going on. They didn't have the Bible that we have. These letters are being written to them, but so they would send out. John was sending out teachers, and Diotrephes says, "Nope, you're not coming in here," And so, and the whole reasoning behind that is he wants the limelight, so to speak, or he wants to be sort of top dog. And really, if you stop and think about the body of Christ, and each of us are parts of it, I don't want to live without any body part missing. I want all of my body parts to stay with my body. And it would be a big deal to me if I lost a body part somehow. Now I know that, and this is true. I have friends and relatives that have had to have maybe a body part, maybe a leg or an arm or something like that amputated, and so you can live you can,
The body learns to
right,
function
you can,
without.
yeah,
Yes.
you can survive, but we're not talking about just surviving. We're talking about thriving. And obviously, the analogy there of the body, our human body is like the body of Christ, and Paul uses that to make a pretty good example so that we can understand that. But Diotrephes is, I mean, he's wanting to be the gatekeeper, um, well, he just wants to be first. And how do you stay on top? How do you, in this situation? Well, you have to make sure that John is discounted, and all the people that the guys that he's sending to these the congregations, you've got to make sure that uh, they're downplayed, or there's something wrong with them. And so this is what this guy's doing, and uh, he's not being helpful at all. He's hurting the church, and John's gonna. I, I would sort of like to have the stenographer's notes on that little uh,
Yeah, if he did
bit.
make it,
Yeah,
that's where this church
yeah,
is. Yes.
yeah.
Which, by the way, where is this church? Do we even know where
Well,
this particular congregation is? Or
no, it's the notes that I
it's
have.
obviously a group that is near and dear to him.
Yeah,
That he knows well, and that they know him well. This also points to the wisdom of the structure of authority in the
right.
church, and how it was never designed for one person to have the authority
Right.
over. It's a plurality
Yeah.
of overseers,
Hmm.
like you said earlier, and that one person, that's a dangerous
Right.
that because of our own nature,
Hmm.
we like to feel important,
Yeah.
and some people like that more than others, and they tend to grasp that. And the only thing that someone in power is afraid of is losing that power. And
Yeah.
so this is Diotrephes
Uh,
is he's afraid that if these letters get through, or this communication
mhm.
happens, that he's in danger of losing his
Yeah, he's
position.
going to lose his status. Well, uh, I have a note here that says it may have been that Gaius was a leader in one of the congregations in Western Asia Minor. So, I mean, we don't know exactly, what congregation this is. Uh, that,
Not that
that
it really
written to.
matters, but
Well, but right, and there at this time there were, you know, they were sort of scattered around.
scattered.
Bob Bob Harper brings up a point. Says the same thing happened to Paul in Second Corinthians. It's not isolated. This kind of thing actually still happens. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it
It does.
does. It does. And and it's good to see what, or at least see what John says he's going to do about this, because you you can't you can't let this stand. I mean, this, and he's not going to. Um, but he doesn't. I like how he doesn't let this one particular thing just sort of sour.
Right.
I can do this at times. Just I read a post from, it was a Facebook memory that I wrote. I don't know, it was several years back. It's like, if one thing bad happens, don't let it ruin your whole day, something like that. And I thought, who's this guy talking? He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I have, I mean, I can let that happen. And
You bet.
we have the capabilities. It depends on who we listen to and who we're learning from. I mean, uh, John, I guess what I'm getting at is John really doesn't let
He
this
doesn't dwell
spoil
on.
the
He
whole
doesn't.
letter. No.
Right. He doesn't.
Yeah.
It's one paragraph among
Yeah.
several. It's just he addresses it. He doesn't let it go, but it's not the focus. It's not the main thrust of the letter. They tell us that when we prepare for parent teacher conferences to if we have something bad that we need to talk about, to always start with something good first about a student, then bring up something that maybe needs to be addressed,
Yeah.
and then bring it back to something good again, and make kind of a
Well,
sandwich out of
it's,
it.
yeah,
So it's exactly
it's
what he's
exactly.
doing right here.
And I was thinking about my lovely wife. She's really good at um, being able to. I mean, she can handle bad news or things that aren't going quite well. Or at least seems to me that she does. Um, she doesn't run around pushing the panic button all the time, and so
I think that's a Williams trait.
maybe so. So you mean to push the panic button or to?
No,
Oh,
to not.
to not. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Not everybody got it.
Not everybody. Um, but it's an important thing to remember. I need to remember this, uh, and everybody else can determine whether they need it or not. But that even if there's something bad, it doesn't have to ruin everything. Of course, you hear the saying that one bad apple spoils.
A little leaven.
Yeah,
Levens
right.
the whole.
So yeah, and those things are
But
true. Those things are
but
true.
that but we
Bad
can
company,
either dwell on those negative
right?
things, or address
Yeah.
them and move on.
Well, and bad company corrupts good morals and all of those things. But um, I like how the focus here is. Um, he says, "I pray for you um, that you may enjoy good health, and that all may go well with you." This is a great opening, um, even as your soul is getting along well. It gives me great joy to have some brothers come and tell me your faithfulness to the truth and how you continue to walk in the truth. I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. I love that. I love that. Um, and he does talk about in the middle here. He talks about um, the things that are going on. Um, uh, you're faithful in what you're doing for the brethren, even though they're strangers to you. They have they've told the church about your love, and this is what John pushes so much um, in uh, uh, First John, this idea of love, because that's what Jesus talked about. It's what he delivered to them was how to uh, how to love uh, the people around you. And Jesus even, pray for your enemies, love. We are to love them, not to uh, uh, repay evil for evil, and all those kinds of things. So John is praising him for this love that he's exhibiting, like Jesus taught.
Have you ever been to a congregation where that you had no idea who anybody was?
Yes.
I know you have.
Yeah.
You've been in a town where you didn't know
Yeah.
anybody, and you went to a congregation, and when you walked in, felt like they had known and loved you all of your life.
Yes. Yeah.
And I've been there. I've had those
Yeah.
experiences. It's exactly what John is talking about in verses 5 through 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. How welcoming, and just we realize there's a family bond that that you can't get anywhere else.
Right.
And even in your own family, sometimes
Yeah.
if you go to family reunions, sometimes you're not treated as well as you are in congregations of
Yeah.
of the church. So, um, I that's been my experience anyway.
And,
Not every time, but there are definitely these congregations that are living out these few verses
mhm.
here at the beginning of Third John.
And well, I can't count the amount of times that total strangers have come by, close to the time that we're maybe getting ready to have worship or Bible study or something when we're together, and they know the reason they're doing that is that they know that people that gather there and meet there are uh, going to be people that love and
We'll treat them well.
treat them well, not not seek to hurt them any further. Now, and I understand we get, sometimes we get burned on those deals, um, and sometimes that people aren't legitimately looking for what they say they're looking for. We live in a world that uh, it the world follows uh, the flesh, and the flesh wants what it wants, and if sometimes people can be taken advantage of, and what we have here is that situation where Diotrephes is actually taking advantage of the entire group, and John's going to deal with that. So, yeah, the hospitality that's shown, uh, he's telling we ought to show hospitality, um, and that's that. I think that's what most congregations do and seek to do. I mean, I've not been to very many that I, felt like, I walked in and walked out and nobody said anything to me. I mean, we had we blew the engine in our truck many years ago, and we ended up having to have it worked on. Well, new engine put in it, and we got a hotel room, and I called the number in the phone book for the local congregation there, and where was it? Corydon, Indiana, and one of the shepherds picked us up. I mean, kids were small then. Picked us all up, took us. I think it was a Wednesday night. Took us there, and they said, "Oh, there wasn't very many people there, but when they found out I was a preacher, they said, oh, next time, I mean, if you ever come by here again, and we want you to preach, and it was just, I mean,
Have you been back?
well, I've been through there,
Okay.
but next time I blow an engine there, and if
There
it's
you
on
go.
a Sunday, I will preach if they want me to. But yeah, and actually, uh, uh, going to try to. I can't even remember where the building is, but I wasn't driving. But anyway, yeah, great group of people. Most congregations are, because who are we following? Well, we're following Jesus, and
Well, and we are, just like he says in verse 11, we're trying to imitate
yeah,
good. And sometimes we don't get it right
right,
in our imitation, but at least don't imitate evil, I think
right,
is what
and
he's getting here.
this makes me think of the and I don't like the fact that it necessarily was I guess um, that what would Jesus do? There were
Mm-hmm.
bracelets, and started out with a bracelet, and then it blew up into everything. But that really is a good
It's a
question to
good
ask.
thought.
It's a great
I,
one.
I, yeah, I bristled against that too
Yeah,
for a long time.
uh,
But it really
yeah,
is the question we ought to ask.
sure is.
Maybe not, have it on our,
I,
clothing or
I
anything
don't know.
necessarily, but
I,
if
but that's
if that's what it takes to spark
yeah.
our, memory and think, okay, well, yeah, maybe I should ask myself that
Well,
question.
and it should be. Really, that should be the first question, right? What would Jesus do in this situation? Well, that would really help us, if all of us, if we remember to at least ask that. But um, so yeah, don't imitate evil, imitate what's good. Um, anyone anyone who does what is good is from God. I mean, he just pares it down to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, now, of course, that doesn't mean anyone that is, picks up the Charmin that fell off the shelf at Walmart
Well, and the
is
second part of that
yeah,
too. Whoever does evil has not seen. Well, we all do
right,
evil.
right,
That's
right.
not what he's
No,
getting at either.
no,
But he does. You're right. He pares it down
yeah,
to, if you're living for Jesus and you're doing good,
yes.
then you're from God. And if you're not, then you're not from God.
It's sort of
That's
the
all.
yeah, and we titled this "Back to the Basics" um, when we were looking at First John, and really that's what it is. It's sort of the nuts and bolts of
Mm-hmm.
of following Jesus is okay. If you do good, you're being godly. If you don't, if you do evil, you're not. And this is how we know who are the people of God, the people of the devil. He really
Mm-hmm.
does pare it down. So um,
And I love how he mentions another name.
yes, verse 12.
He starts out with the name Gaius,
Mm-hmm.
and then he drops a guy that not doing good,
Yeah,
and then now he drops another name here that is doing good.
yeah.
I like that he mentions actual real
Mm-hmm.
people's names and compliments them,
Yeah.
and I think that's a good example. We need to when we see things that are being done by people, let's call them
Mm-hmm.
out on that. It's easy to do it with the negative things, but
Well, yeah.
well, let's call people out for doing good. What better way to lift someone's spirits or
Yeah.
to boost their confidence than by noticing that they're doing good and then telling other people about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and okay, so probably a lot of you, maybe everybody watching has seen the post about the dresses, those little dresses for the little
Mm-hmm.
girls that are uh, being donated to El Salvador. Those are men's dress shirts that the ladies have taken, um, and I think well, I'm going to mention the name, although
Mention
she does
names,
not
yeah.
want credit. I know this, so please forgive me. But Myra McGee is, I think
Yes.
she spearheaded this, and this isn't the first time this has happened. And I'm telling you, the ladies in our congregation, I'm telling you, uh, they do such good, and
They work so
they
hard.
do.
Yes.
They do. And if you haven't seen those pictures of the dresses, Lee did like a panoramic view when
Mm-hmm.
they were all hanging up, and then I think Orlando posted some, and I took. Um, I didn't take any of the pictures. I just posted a few. I think it was early this morning. But look at those. Yeah, it's good uh, to mention people that do good and that are are spoken are speaking the truth and living by the truth. Uh, and I like verse 13. I have so much to write you, but I do not want to write with pen and ink. I hope to see you soon, and we'll talk face to face. I just like how John does that. Peace to you. The friends here send their greetings. Greet the friends there by name. This is just it. Even though there's something he's saying, when I come to town, it,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to call out the Otfries. But to end it this way, it's so heartwarming. It,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seemed like only John could write this way. It just really.
Well, he writes something similar. I mean, he's quoting Jesus in Revelation, but when he writes about
Mm-hmm.
to the churches, it's something very similar here.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I see this, you're doing this, and this is good, but then there's this
Yeah.
you need to take care of.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to, but if you're faithful,
Yeah.
you're going to be rewarded for that. So, it's
And of course,
even Jesus
yeah.
teaches in this
Yes,
way.
absolutely. Um, and we should take some notes from this letter and live those out in our lives. I think it would do us all good. Me especially. I'll speak for myself to be able to um, do uh, to do good and to recognize uh, be able to recognize good and evil. Um, so we'll end it here. Hey, thanks Bob for your comments. He says keep up the great work, brothers. Enjoy watching you. So I'm glad to hear that. I've mentioned this before. Was Bob was the one that baptized me. I think I was 11 years old or so. And there was one time I have to tell this story, Bob. I hope you stay on here to hear this, or you can listen to it later. But I had just been run over by my pony. I was little. I don't know, maybe 8 years old or 9. I don't know. And somehow that pony had run over me. I mean, ran over me, hoof marks on my back, that kind of thing. And I wasn't feeling quite well. And he came over to see me, and he brought me I still have it. I wasn't planning on doing this, or I would have it in front of me, but that he brought me of a seashell, and I still have that thing. I've had that. Well, I don't know. It's probably 8 or 9, like I said, and
Well, what, like 20 years then?
yeah, it's been 15 or 20 something.
15
Yeah.
years?
Um, but that's just the type of guy that Bob is. I love him to death, and it thrills me that he's watching. And so anyway, I'm glad all of you. We're glad that all of you tuned in. And if you tuned in to watch the replay, we're glad of that too. We're glad that you're here watching, and hopefully you can glean something from 3rd John as we have, and be able to plug that into your life, and hopefully it will, as John says, uh, that your soul uh, will get along well, and that
Mhm.
you will be
Be healthy,
healthy.
body, and
Yeah,
soul.
yeah,
Yeah.
body and soul for sure. So you have anything? Yeah, over 40 years, Bob says. So
Oh,
yeah,
Bob,
we were
he,
off
he,
just a little bit.
he told the truth,
Yeah, he
Bob.
told the truth. Yeah. Um, okay, next time I'll have to get the shell and show it. But anyway, um, the Bay of Bengal, I think, or Bengal, I don't know the way it's spelled. I remember him telling me about it back then. I was impressed. So he eased my pain and suffering with that. So I appreciate that. Um, well, Darin, would you pray for us, and then we'll
You bet.
sign off?
Yeah. Let's pray. Father, we're so thankful for another opportunity to study together, and um, we love the way that this is written, and how it still is teaching us how to love each other, how to act, and how to treat each other, and then what not to do, and the dangers of letting our pride get in our way. Father, we ask that you bless us the rest of tonight, and be with us through the rest of the week till we can meet together again. It's in His name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Hey, read it and live it. That's about the best we can do, I think. So
I think that's good
I
enough.
think it is. All right. This is Denny and Darin signing off. We'll see you next week. Maybe,
Who knows
who
what day?
knows? Probably on Thursday, though.
Yeah.
Is this Thursday?
I think so.
Okay. I think it is too. I got to see that little granddaughter again at some point. So
I'm surprised you came home.
yeah,
Actually,
I'm surprised I'm not holding her right here. You know. So anyway, hey, we love you guys. Take care, and we'll see you next week. God bless you. See you, Darin.